Okay, so service to armed forces. I always like to start with the American Red Cross mission. So the American Red Cross prevents and alleviates human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing the power of volunteers and the generosity of donors. Our volunteer workforce is 90% volunteer driven. So we are only 10% actually paid staff nationwide. So our volunteers are really the driving force behind all of our programs and services. And I always like to throw this in, a little bit of education here. When most people say Red Cross, the first thing that pops into people's mind is, donating blood, responding to a disaster. Many people don't realize that we were the founding program with the American Red Cross. Clara Barton, a very, real pioneer, she visited the battlefields of the Civil War, and she saw that our soldiers needed compassion and care. And that drove her to found the American Red Cross in 1881. And we are still providing care and compassion to those military service members to this day. So who we serve all branches of service, including reserves, National Guard, and in our emergency communications, even DoD civilians that are deployed overseas, as well as all military, active duty, and veteran family members. And a lot of people don't realize, but we actually hold a Congressional Charter. It was established in 1905. And this charter allows us to be the direct link or medium of communication between the active duty service member and the family at home. And I will talk a little bit more about that and what that means and what that does in a couple slides. So the Red Cross, we've been serving our military for over 130 years, providing comfort and care. We actually have Red Cross offices on over 30 installations around the world. Including deployment sites such as Kuwait, Poland, Djibouti, Iraq. And we, of course, have regions and offices across all of the United States. And we really provide a continuum of care that begins when the new recruit enters and is sworn into the military at the military entrance processing station. We stay with that service member throughout their entire military career. We help them transition out of the military back into civilian world, and then we stay with that veteran for the remainder of their life, as well as the military and veteran family. So some of the services that we provide here at the Red Cross, we have our emergency communication services, which is our chartered program, information and referral, building family resiliency, outreach and education. We serve our military veterans in the VAs across the nation, as well as military treatment facilities. And of course, the key component to all of that is engaging our volunteers. So the emergency communication program, this is our chartered program. This is where if there is an emergency at home and a family member needs to reach out and notify and request their service member's presence due to that emergency, that has to be done through the American Red Cross, or that service member will not be granted emergency leave. So what we do is we have a Hero Care call center. They will call the call center. We will verify that emergency, format that message, and deliver it to the command, no matter where that service member is stationed around the world, whether they're on a submarine, a ship, or on a military installation. We provide also a military financial aid assistance. If a service member, active duty, or a 20+ year retired veteran is not within 50 miles of a base that has a military financial aid office, our Hero Care call center can also process a military aid request. And of course, we do follow up on all of those cases and calls to ensure that their needs were met and that they were met in a timely fashion. So information and referral. This is another type of call where a veteran, most likely a veteran who is not eligible for military financial aid, will call the Red Cross and be seeking assistance with a multitude of things. Could be rent, could be food, could be utilities, trips to the doctors, trips to the VA, whatever it may be. We will open up a case for that veteran. We will do a full a full overview of what their needs are. And then we give referrals oftentimes to many of your agencies, Veterans One Stop being one of the most popular agencies that we refer to in the Western New York area. We make that soft referral and we stay with that veteran and work with them until either their need is met or there's just no resource available for whatever their need is. And then our Family Resiliency Program. These are skill building workshops that we offer free of charge to active duty military, veterans, and family members. This is DoD supported, so we are able to offer these on active installations. The reconnection workshops, there's a list of some of the workshops that we offer. They're actually, skill building, 60-minute skill building workshops that we offer for free. And we also have workshops for military children of all ages. And then the coping with deployments, of course, that's a very specific targeted audience of family members who are either looking at an impending departure or deployment of their loved one, or they are currently in the middle of a deployment. So we offer some support and help them cope with those deployments. And then, of course, we serve in our VA hospitals. The VAVS, Veterans Affairs Voluntary Services, was created in 1946. We work quite closely with the Volunteer Service Department in the VAs. We do have 4 VA hospitals in our Western New York region. That would be Buffalo, Batavia, Canandaigua, and Bath. And we have cadre volunteers in each of those hospitals that volunteer in a multitude of different ways, supporting, rehab programs, therapy, morale building activities. They could be administrative volunteers and volunteer drivers, the DAV drivers. And of course, I know a lot of you on this call know Michael Hoplite. He's my lead volunteer at the Buffalo and Batavia VA. And that's a recent photo of him getting ready to distribute fruit and juice and coffee to the veterans in Buffalo on the lawn care unit. And of course, spreading his holiday cheer with his festive elf apron there. He's been doing that for years, and it's just a wonderful way for him to connect with the veterans. And I will tell you, one of their favorite Fridays is Sardine and Cracker Day. The veterans just absolutely love that. So on those days, I definitely stay clear of that. But on the Timbit and Coffee Day or the Fruit Day, those are all good. And then education and outreach. We provide education and get to know us before you need us briefings at all yellow ribbon pre-deployment events, mid-deployment or post-deployment events. We do outreach and education like, I'm doing right now to this group. We do that to other partners. It's just a great way for us to build stronger community partners, stronger relationships, and to get out into the communities, what types of services and programs we offer. And that's just an example of, what a table may look like, although our tables have a lot more tchotchkes on them. And then these are some opportunities for volunteers to come to the Red Cross and volunteer in service to armed forces. We're always looking for volunteer partners to partner with the directors and managers of the department, provide assistance with the emergency communications, the chartered program that is actually a completely virtual position. I have a casework team that could be anywhere within our region, within our 27 county region, and they will make phone calls, do follow-up, right from home, from their home computers. The VA hospitals, again, cadres of volunteers in each of the hospitals. Currently, not right now, Michael's really the only volunteer in our region that is actually in the hospital doing any volunteering at this time. Because of the COVID restrictions, that volunteer opportunity is currently in limbo. But hopefully moving forward, hopefully we'll see some light at the end of that tunnel. Mental health workers, our skill building workshops, because they are sponsored and supported by the DoD, it is their requirement that our volunteers that facilitate those workshops, they have to be clinically independent, state licensed mental health professionals in their day job. And then they take a 2-day training from the Red Cross in order to facilitate these workshops. And then again, we offer those virtually right now and in person. Once the COVID environment did strike in 2020, we quickly pivoted to offer these virtually, but nothing is like an in-person workshop. And then community outreach, that's really our event volunteer. They could do anything from packing comfort kits, distributing comfort kits, manning an information table, participating in events that we will host again one day post-COVID. So there's a lot of different opportunities. Doesn't matter where you sit. We have opportunities all across our region. And if anyone is ever interested in volunteering, they can contact me directly or go right to our website, www.redcross.org, and look for all kinds of volunteer opportunities, whether in service to armed forces or any other service that we offer. And I do like to note that all of our volunteers that wish to participate in any in-person activities, they must be fully vaccinated with proof of vaccine. But for those that do not plan to get vaccinated, we do offer virtual positions, completely virtual positions in all lines of service to give them an opportunity to still volunteer with us, but unfortunately just not in person. And then lastly, our app. We have lots of Red Cross apps. So if you have a smartphone, I always suggest you look through your app store. The Hero Care app is our Service to Armed Forces app. Lots of different things you can get, lots of different information you can get off of this app. Families can actually begin an emergency communication from that app. And we do have disaster apps, blood service apps. They are all free. So if you have a smartphone, I always suggest you just kind of peruse the store, download some of the apps. They're, really great to have, great information. And that pretty much wraps it up for me. That was a very quick and condensed overview of what we do here in Service to Armed Forces. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone may have. And again, we love your agencies. We do a lot of referring to a lot of your agencies because you do such great work with our veterans, and it's just a fantastic partnership and resource.
Lisa, do you mind sending me your PowerPoint presentation so that I can share it with the group when I send the minutes out?
Absolutely, I will. And I'll add my contact information in it too. So if anyone does want to reach out to me directly, feel free at any time.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
Lisa, hold on, Lisa.
Yeah.
It's Chuck. I've got a question for you.
Okay.
Given, and this is a little outside the scope of your presentation, but given the tragic events with the tornadoes in the Midwest, can you give us a little sense of what the Western New York chapter is doing through disaster relief, and perhaps how veterans might be able to volunteer for some of that work?
Absolutely. Well, I can tell you that in the Western New York region, our disaster team, we have had an unprecedented year, even locally within our region. Just 2 nights ago, we responded to a 16-unit building that burned to the ground in Rochester, 38 plus people displaced. So there are a lot of opportunities to volunteer within disaster services. And in response to the tornadoes, that was such a devastating event that we are going to be on site for several weeks, many weeks, maybe, even going into months to get those places, especially Kentucky, to rebuild. And we have already had throughout our region, as well as across neighboring states, a lot of volunteers, mental health volunteers, health services like nurses, spiritual care volunteers, and sheltering volunteers that have already deployed down south to help with those efforts. And I've got to say a big shout out to those volunteers, because leaving now or within the next week, they go on at least a minimum 2-week deployment. So they could be gone 2 to 3 weeks. So those volunteers leaving are going to be gone through the holiday. They are giving up their holiday to go and help all those victims of that disaster. So if anyone's ever interested, they can contact me, and I can put them in touch with the right folks. There is a lot of training involved in order to go out and be a disaster volunteer. But if you have the time, and you don't mind traveling, certainly deploying to a national assignment is always an option. Just be aware it is at least a minimum 2-week assignment. So you have to have that ability to leave for a couple weeks. Or you can volunteer to respond locally, which in our area is most often the family fire, whether it's a multiple unit or a single family fire. We have volunteers that go out at 2 a.m. to respond to those fires, to make sure that that family has shelter in a hotel, a client assistance card loaded so they can purchase new clothing, diapers, bottles, food, whatever it is that they need to get through their immediate emergency needs. And we have been extremely busy with flooding, and again, with the power outages that just happened over last weekend. Over all our 27 counties, several places out of power. We did open up a couple warming shelters. So our disaster team, kudos to all of them. They have been extremely busy. And even in disaster services, if a volunteer is not planning to be vaccinated, there are some virtual opportunities to help disaster services that they can do right from their home, as long as they have access to a computer. So lots of different opportunities.
Thanks, Lisa.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. Thank you. That sounds very comprehensive, and really appreciate that. Just to let you know, I'm a volunteer blood donor, 24-gallon blood donor for the Red Cross.
Marvelous.
Yeah, since I was in the service. So
That's outstanding.
I continue to do it. So you've definitely been working with the Red Cross for a long time that way. So
well, just to end with a little plug to blood services, nationwide, blood is at a critical low in hospitals. So we are really, really trying to ramp up our efforts to get units in. And just to let everyone on this call know, blood that is donated locally here, a lot of that blood stays local. We support the Catholic healthcare systems. We support blood at the VA hospitals. So blood that is donated doesn't necessarily leave this area. It does stay locally, but I will tell you that we did send down in this area, I think, to support the tornado efforts, they did send about 200 units of blood down south. But your blood donation, a lot of it does stay locally. So if anyone is able to give or has never given and would like to give, they would be very happy to have you, because blood is just, it has never been this critically low in a long time. So yes, an opportunity to be a volunteer. Donate your blood, roll your sleeve up.